Okay, good morning. This is Richard Hsu, host of Hsu Untied. This morning, I'm pleased to have with me as my guest Brad Kondracki, who's a partner at MoFo. Brad, welcome to the program.
Thanks for sure. Thanks for having me.
So, Brad, you have one of the more unusual backgrounds I've come across. I see that you were a computer science major in college. Tell me a little bit about how you chose to do that major.
Yeah, sure. So, growing up, I grew up kind of in the age, I think, when personal computers in the home were kind of starting to become ubiquitous, and video games became a thing. Everyone was getting home video game systems. So, starting from a young age, I was just really fascinated by them and really drawn to them. So when I was looking to go to colleges out of high school, um, a lot of my strengths were in math and science, but I wanted to go somewhere where I could really apply those, and end up choosing to go to Cornell, do their computer science program.
What kind of stuff did you do in high school before that? Like, did you program on what kind of computers did you do programming on?
Yeah, just kind of stuff, like hobbies, just kind of really anything we could do just for fun. A lot of kind of game programming and that sort of stuff.
Hmm.
Um, so I was on like the high school like engineering team, high school like programming team, and that sort of stuff. But all kind of drew me to it. And then I decided to go to Cornell and kind of went from there.
Now, when you chose that computer programming major, were you thinking that you were going to be a career as a computer programmer, or what were you thinking at the time?
I think so, probably. I don't know that I thought that far ahead at the time, but I knew it was something I was interested in. I thought it was gonna really change the world, right? So I wanted to be at the forefront of it. And so, um, yeah, so I thought I would go in. Didn't really at that point think I would go into law
Mhm.
in college, but in college, what ended up happening was I started to see a lot of the similarities often between what I liked about computer science and the law. So like, for instance, like computer science, I'm really strength a lot of like logical reasoning and putting together algorithms and like how everything kind of fits together. And I kind of see similarities with that in the law. And I had a lot of friends at the time that weren't engineering majors, but were going to law school. So that kind of piqued my interest in kind of what they were doing, and kind of looked into it. And then towards the end of my time at Cornell, I think I was probably about a junior or so. Um, I decided to maybe take the LSAT, see how it went, and ended up doing pretty well, and it kind of went from there.
Oh, interesting. Now, did you do any kind of senior thesis project or anything like that for your computer engineering major?
No, no, not really. So I actually ended up, uh, working hard to graduate a semester early, because I wanted
Mm.
to go out and be a ski bum in Tahoe for a bit. I figured I could, and I realized like, a semester at college at the time was probably cost 20 or 25 grand. I could save 20 or 25 grand by taking a couple extra courses um, and use that to go skiing instead. So, ended up graduating a semester early, moved out with a buddy of mine to Tahoe. Uh, and I had applied to law schools at that point, ended up living in Tahoe for that winter season. And then ended up deferring for another year to spend another year out there
Yeah,
before
got
starting
it,
law
got it.
school.
Well, since I did some computer, I was an engineering major. I'm just curious, did you take the dreaded compiler class? Was that something you took?
I did not. I don't remember taking that actually.
Okay.
I didn't take that. So thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah. Well, how did you like law school after, I mean, was it what you expected? You said you thought you had some similarities. Was it completely different? What'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, law school is great. Itself. I don't know that it directly translates to my practice today. A lot of things, but the thinking behind being a lawyer and what you learn in law school, I found fascinating and really liked it. When I was in law school, I mean, with my computer science degree, I always knew I wanted to come out and work with tech companies, work with startups, and so felt that was a great, the law degree was a great opportunity to kind of get in there and work with these startups and tech companies. Really at an early stage in my career. So that's why I ended up coming out to Silicon Valley from the East Coast, and I made ECVC my practice.
Did you always know you were going to be a transactional lawyer? Did you think about litigation at some point or anything?
I think everyone probably thinks about it a little bit when they're in law school, but not too seriously. I think I kind of always felt I was gonna be a transactional lawyer and
Yeah.
specifically work with tech companies.
Yeah. So how has your practice evolved then? You came out to work with tech companies. How has your practice kind of evolved over time?
Yeah, so I mean, it's actually pretty similar to how it was when I started. So I started in 2007 at Wilson Sonsini. I had an office a few doors down from Mario Rosati, um, obviously named partner of the firm, and he kind of took me under his wing, working with startup companies from entrepreneurs coming in, just looking to get a company formed, to taking companies public, to later stage to do public companies and doing some public company representation. Over time, I think my practice has really more focused on the private company aspect of it. So do mostly venture financings. I work as outside general counsel to a lot of my clients. But again, at all stages of development. So a lot of very early stage companies that just the entrepreneurs are still, not even company hasn't even been formed yet, to growing and scaling with them along their funding rounds.
Do you find that your computer science background helps you in any way in understanding some of the more complex technologies, particularly like with AI now and things like that?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I think it helps a lot when I'm in the boardroom, and just to be able to kind of parse and understand, what the clients are doing, and what the challenges they are facing a little better, right? Just being conversant in that language, and understanding it. It's also just, I think it makes it more interesting for me too, right? As opposed to something I just like don't understand. So, I think all those aspects have kind of led to, my client base and the type of work I'm doing.
Any clients ever comment that they can tell that maybe you were a CS major?
I don't know if I've got that particular comment before, but yeah.
Well, did you ever work as a programmer at any point, even for a summer or anything like that?
uh, not at a big tech company or anything. So I mean, actually, so what I ended up doing when I moved to Tahoe, so I'd already applied to law school. Actually, when I was in Tahoe, I actually started playing poker a lot. So I was playing online poker, which is like a big thing. That's kind of how I supported myself there. But I took that pretty seriously for a while. Ended up making the final table of the World Series of Poker while I was in law school. So that helped pay for law school and everything. So usually when I get questions, it's usually about the poker background, as not necessarily the computer science one.
Oh, interesting. Well, well, if I'd known that, I would have definitely made that a topic. What was that
Yeah.
like? Let's talk about that for a few minutes. What was that like?
So it was awesome. So I mean, I really, poker wasn't something I really played in college, but I got interested in when I was out in Tahoe. It was around the time when it started getting really popular on TV and whatnot, and I saw, noticed it and figured, if these guys can do that, I can figure out how to do it too. So I bought a bunch of books on it, and started playing online for very small stakes and worked my way up. Um, and then by the time I started law school, I was playing a lot on the side, and then went out to the World Series of Poker that summer, my first year summer. Ended up making the final table, which was really exciting. So so it was a great experience. And then the question was always, am I coming back to law school? Am I going to keep working? But decided to stick with it, and just make poker a hobby.
That's so funny. One of my very early guests was Greg Raymer, who was actually a lawyer as
Sure,
well.
yeah.
You know, Greg, and he won. I think he won the World Series.
He,
I don't
he,
know.
he won it. He won it in 2004, and I made the final table in 2005.
Oh,
Um,
okay. So you know,
and
so you know who he is, definitely.
yeah, Greg he almost made the final table again in 2005, which would have been quite an accomplishment. I think
Yeah.
he's down there.
Well,
27
what
years
I
old.
hear is that poker is a game of luck with a little bit of skill. You think that's true?
Uh, I'd say it's a game of skill with a lot of luck, but you can parse it a little bit more there. But I mean, that's what makes it a great game, right? If it was just a game of skill, everyone, you wouldn't have anyone to play with anymore, right? Because the best person would just always win. It'd be more like chess or something, right? But having that luck
Yeah.
component, it makes it much more sustainable game.
Yeah. Did you ever play in the World Series of Poker again, or you just played that one time and that was it?
Yeah, I played again. I haven't had results like that, unfortunately. But I don't. Unfortunately, I don't. It's a little hard to find the time to go out regularly anymore.
Yeah.
Would love to find some time to go out, and but haven't played it in years. Probably since my oldest daughter was born, which is
Funny.
9.
Do you like to watch poker or not particularly?
No, not particularly. No, I mean, I can watch it a little bit to maybe study a little bit, but no, I don't particularly get a lot out of just watching it myself.
People always say you always remember the losing hand. Do you want to describe the losing hand in that final table?
Yeah, it wasn't. I actually do remember that hand. I don't remember many hands in my career, but I do remember that hand. It wasn't a particularly interesting one though. I was short stacked, meaning I had the least amount of chips at the table at that point. There was 8 people left in the tournament out of 5,600 started it.
Yeah.
Uh, and I had ace queen, and it was, I had less than 10 big blinds left. So I mean, the only move there is to really push in, and I went all in. I got called by I think it was the big blind. He had pocket eights, and didn't run out for me. So that was it.
Huh. Well, so that's amazing. Do you think you'll ever play poker again at some point when you retire from practicing law? Do you ever see yourself playing poker again?
Sure. I mean, I play. I play now if there's a good game, or I find time or something. So I mean, it's not like I never play or anything. I don't think I'd play, kind of like on a full-time basis, like I was contemplating at one point. But I mean,
Yeah.
sure, I'd love to go out and play in some of the big tournaments once in a while
Yeah.
if I have
Well,
time.
there are a lot of mathematicians become poker players. I've interviewed a few. I think Annie Duke might have been a math major. Anyway, it's
Yeah,
not uncommon because it's a lot of calculation for odds and things like that, right?
sure. It's a lot of calculation odds. It's risk management. It's like pattern recognition. Now there's a lot of game theory involved, of the best way to play hands and whatnot. So yeah.
Yeah. Do you play online poker a little bit?
Well, that not anymore since the UIGA came into effect. I forget what year that was, but that kind of was one of the catalysts of why I don't play anymore that much. So online was really how I learned and kind of cut my teeth and played a ton there, which is great because you can play so many hands at once. You get so much experience in like a short amount of time. Whereas
Mm.
live, it's just a much slower game, right? You just can't get as many reps in. Um, but when the major sites pulled out of the US, I forget what year that was, 2009, 2010, or something like that. I don't really play online too much anymore.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have an informal game you play with friends or anything like that? Do
Yeah,
you do that?
occasionally.
Yeah,
Nothing too serious though.
yeah, yeah. Well, Brad, I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing the story. I wanted to talk to you about being a computer science major, but really enjoyed talking about the poker and really appreciate you taking the time.
No, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, Richard.
This is Richard Hsu and Brad Kondracki. Thanks.